Have you ever looked at your child, if you have a child, or the person you sleep next to on a regular basis? Have you ever looked at them sleeping?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get to look at Libby sleeping almost every day. I'm up here in the bed, and Libby is down here on the floor. Libby is the most beautiful collie in the world. And she's been sick lately. She's getting well, but I sleep next to her. And this morning when I got up, she was in the perfect profile of a running collie, with her legs like this, outstretched, but she was sleeping, and she was breathing rapidly. She's breathing rapidly because she's sick. But I knew where she was. When Libby was a puppy, the first couple years of her life, she got to spend almost every day in a pasture. It was a huge fenced-in pasture with her mother, with her grandmother, and with one of the siblings that was part of her litter, and a half a dozen sheep. The last time I saw Libby the last time I saw her run, she bounded, which is really unusual for a dog. Usually they move the forelegs. So I'm certain that Libby learned how to run from the sheep that she spent the first 2 years of her life with. What a great way, what a dog's life she had at the very beginning. Now, as time went on, my wife would accumulate rescues, and then she would accumulate other dogs. And the problem was she had wanted Libby to be an agility dog. Agility is an athletic performance where dogs run over hurdles, they weave through poles, they go through tunnels, over bridges, things like that. Well, I can give you a quick picture of Libby's one and only competition. For those of you that have had little boys and wished he was Mr. October, or you've had girls and wish they would turn out to be Karen King, in a ballet, it was kind of like that. Libby comes out of the gate, Val is running alongside her, and she's beautiful. As she's running, you can see the top of her, and she was perfectly feathered. Her fur is perfectly feathered. You could see her mane just kind of almost gliding like banners as she was running by. Then suddenly, click. In those days, cameras clicked. Okay? This was about 10 years ago. Libby stops, dead in her track, as she's supposed to be jumping over a hurdle, looks at the photographer, and barks at him. Nobody says anything. Nobody around the arena says anything. Okay, she continues her path. She's jumping over things. Click again. She stops and barks again at the photographer, and this time everybody around the arena laughs. Okay? And that proved to be the very short career of Libby as an athlete. She just didn't have the attention span for her to be an athlete. Now, Libby was the perfect second fiddle. No matter how many rescues Val brought in, or the next dog, and you see in the photo, Libby is reaching over the edge of her bed, and she's licking a little corgi. Well, Val got a corgi who did turn out to be a great agility dog, and Libby, sometimes you look at dogs or people and you don't know they have certain capacities. We had no idea that Libby was going to be as motherly as she did, but she took that dog under her wing, and Abby must have had the best puppy life that any dog could have had because of Libby. And whenever somebody would come in, Libby would always kind of disappear into the background. Have you ever had a relative that you live nearby and they just kind of disappear for periods of time? You wonder, what are they up to? And that's what Libby was. She just kind of withdrew, and I was busy working. And so some days I would just come home and I'd feed in the evening, and hi, Libby, and that would be pretty much my relationship with Libby. But it seems to me part of my job in the family is to take care of the dogs when they start to age, okay? And I'm sure you've noticed some of your relatives, they don't quite have the stamina they do. They would spend, they would party with you till midnight, now they leave at 9 o'clock. They would entertain you at their houses. Now you're no longer invited. Well, Libby's stamina began to go too. We would always go over to American River and walk the park there. But she didn't have the stamina to walk with the other two young dogs that we have. And so now I just walk her around the block. Well, I don't want you to feel that her life in any way is the less of it, because it's almost like a fashion show. Okay, a lot of times I get out of the house just as the kids and their parents are dropping the kids off at school. And so as Libby and I are walking, you know what, we still get looks. Well, not we, Libby. Libby still gets the looks. People roll down their windows and yell out, "Lassie! She's gorgeous! Styling!" And then the little children, some of the girls as they walk by, you can just see their eyes dilate because they see how beautiful she is. And one little boy even asked, because Libby's mane is so rich, "Is she a lion?" You know? So Libby still gets plenty of attention when we go for the walks. She was always low maintenance. And about 2 years ago, she got pancreatitis. Pancreatitis is almost mortal, and when dogs get it, there's no cure. There are several diseases that dogs get, and there's simply no cure for them. And the vet just said to us, she's either going to make it through the night or not. Okay. I remember we put her down next to the bed, and it seemed like gravity literally flattened her into the floor. And you could barely see her chest rise. And I didn't think there was any hope. But Libby, being the sweetest dog in the world, the angel of death passed over her that night. And I wake up in the morning, and she's looking at me. This isn't the exact picture of her looking at me, but this is, pass that around. This is the kind of look that you get from Libby. She survived that. And we've gone on happily since then until about 7 weeks ago. She developed something called old age for dogs, vestibular disease. It affects the inner ear. And just like for human beings, the inner ear controls balance. And it controls cycles too. It controls cycles too. So we've had problems with her sleeping through the night. And of course, I'm the guy who gets up with her during the night. But it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Because now we're giving her marijuana oil that seems to be helping her with her restlessness. One of the other things she has is bad dreams. And that seems to be helping with the bad dreams. And so the last thing with a dog is the hind legs. If a dog can't stand, it's pretty close to the end. And so we're teaching Libby how to stand on her hind legs. This has been like 6 weeks of physiotherapy. We know she's strong enough to do it, but she can't quite get the purchase on her 2 paws to do it. But we believe that she's going to do it, and we're not going to have to put her down now. I'm asking for one more day because Libby is our dog's nickname. She was born on the 4th of July. Born on the 4th of July! And so her real name, Val named her Liberty Bell. You know, as the Liberty Bell, but also Belle, B-E-L-L-E, which means beautiful as well. So we're planning on having a celebration with her tomorrow. And I just want you to know, Libby is getting better. Thank you.
Dog and her man, I'm not sure which one. Both, all of the above. Opened with wonderful pictures. Who could ask for more? You know who he's talking about, and you know who's got his heart. Okay, Libby is sick. Libby may be getting better, we don't know. That's the one suggestion I could make, is if you were going to bring me any improvement on this speech, it would be telling us that Libby has improved greatly. But that's really not your province. So what can I say? The speech itself, in terms of context, content, and the way it was delivered, I loved the transitions. I was wild about these transitions. This was not a speech. This was a story. This was a love story. It just happened to be a dog instead of Val. What can I say? It's okay. The first transition was the agility dog. Really well done. You went from a sick dog to an agility dog, how you got her. Great body language in that particular respect. That thing about the cameras, that was amazing. You know, she wasn't barking at the photographer, she was smiling for the picture. And she really had no attention span. That's okay, because then we went to where she was okay with being second fiddle. And we got to see the picture of The first fiddle, a couple of the first fiddles, and that was okay too. That was a very good transition. It was short because then he had to go on to talk about how she was aging. And it wasn't an easy story, but didn't it help a lot when he still got the fashion show? You know, everyone, in spite of the fact that he's got an aging dog, she's still beautiful, she's still impactful. There was a lot of humor in this speech for being kind of really sad in places and just heart gripping in places. There was a lot of humor. I had really a lot of trouble coming up with the suggestion for improving the speech. It was a tearjerker and it was still humorous, and those are the most impactful speeches as far as I'm concerned. The opening and the closing matched really well, even though he didn't come right out and say, this is, I'm her man and she's my dog, or something like that, to exactly use the words from the beginning. But nevertheless, the fact that he's obviously got so much hope for her to get better. Now, in terms of how the speech was delivered, things that I liked: a lot of humor, tremendous eye contact, very good movement and body language. There was some verbal richness, like the story of a little boy thinking she was a lion. That was really good verbal richness in there. I loved the pictures. I loved the song. And I loved Liberty Bell. That was very special. And so I think we will all join you in asking for one more day. No, I don't have to sing that. Thank you.